Shout out one time for the original vibe. Who is a big enough Celsius fan who could tell me what the original vibe flavor was? Sparkling peach, the original, deliciously sweet and 100% refreshing. Always delicious. Northeast Florida is fueled by Celsius Essential Energy Drinks.
Legal Live is brought to you by Farah and Farah.
The comments and opinions expressed on this radio program do not constitute legal advice and do not create an attorney-client relationship. If you have a legal problem, a formal consultation will be required outside of this radio program.
This is Legal Live with Eddie and Chuck Farah. They're talking the latest legal news and answering your questions. To call Legal Live and ask Eddie and Chuck a question, grab your phone and dial 855-765-1045. That's 855-765-1045.
Welcome. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Feel free to give us a call. Your calls are the most important part of this show, and let's be real, the most fun part of the show. Our number is 855-765-1045. I'm your host, Shafalika, and I'm joined by the host with the most, Eddie Farah. How's it going?
Thanks, Shafalika. Good to be here.
It's good to have you back.
It's good to be anywhere.
It's good to be anywhere. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so we've been off a couple of weeks, but we're back at it.
That's right.
Okay, and if you recall probably about two weeks ago, we had a gentleman who called the show, and he was on Medicare, and he couldn't get a CPAP machine.
Right.
If you recall
I remember him. Yeah, he was like 82 years old.
82 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor prescribed it for him. He was trying to get it for Medicare, couldn't get it. Just didn't know what to do. He was calling people. But you know what? People were listening to the show.
Really?
And we received an email from a lady who works with Medicare. And I wish she could have gotten on the air with us when she was apparently listening to the show.
Yeah.
But I'll read what she had to say. She said she was listening to the show on WOKV, Legal Live, and a gentleman came on who was not able to get a CPAP machine. I'm a nurse with Medicare Advantage insurance company, and that the patient needs to call the nurse advice line for his insurance company and tell them he has been unable to get his machine. So if you call the nurse advice line, they will help you. They'll assign a person to call you back to help facilitate you getting the machine in a timely manner. She even gave her phone number.
What?
So if that gentleman, I don't want to give it out on the air, but if that person who's listening and still hasn't gotten a CPAP machine, I've got Diane's phone number, and she will help you get your CPAP machine. So, and then she gives
amazing.
a website. Also, there is a website he can go to. She gave her personal email. I'm not going to give that out, but if this gentleman still needs a CPAP machine, call us. I'll give you Diane's phone number. She can help you get it.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Look at that. The community stepping up to help one another. I love that.
Yeah, that's what Legal Live's all about, Shafalika.
That's true.
Everybody chips in. The listeners, the lawyers. Lawyers are not even here chip in. We make them chip in on Monday when we don't know the answers.
That's right. We do.
So everybody's helping out, which is a cool thing.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And we were at a loss that day to try and figure out, exactly what can we do for you? Because he seems like he tried everything.
He called his doctor. He was calling the insurance company. But he needs to call this nurse. It's called a nurse. There's a nurse advice line. It's part of Medicare Advantage. You can call to get help. I guess probably anything, not just your CPAP machine, but whatever you're not getting that you should get.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Moving on. This is something we've talked about before. We've talked about the Undertaker doctrine. It has nothing to do with an Undertaker.
Oh, okay.
It comes into play when you're a good Samaritan and you help someone in a time of need, and whether you can be responsible for any injuries that are caused while you're helping that person. Well, just kind of remind me, because we received a phone call yesterday from a potential client who had just gone to dialysis. And, after dialysis, you're kind of tired. You have to rest that day. You don't just leave dialysis and go out and run 5 miles. You've got to gain your strength. It takes a day to get your strength back.
Yeah.
But this lady had taken an Uber or a Lyft back from the dialysis clinic. She was going back home, and she was feeling very tired and very dizzy. And she ended up coming, stepping out of the lift, or I think it was an Uber or Lyft vehicle, and falling on the pavement, okay?
Oh, no.
And hurting herself. Her concern was, why didn't the Lyft or the Uber driver come help her out of the car and assist her in getting out of the car and into her home?
Interesting.
But he didn't do that. The question is, does he have a legal duty to do it? I mean, I don't know if that's part of the deal. Maybe she called Lyft or Uber on her own and just said, hey, take me home. I don't know if they have an arrangement with a dialysis clinic to help these people in and out of the car. But assuming that he did try to help her and didn't do it properly and she fell and got hurt and he increased her risk in some way, he would have been responsible for that injury.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I mean, that's so the Good Samaritan doctrine basically holds that if you go out of your way to help somebody in a time of need, you're really not responsible for what happens unless you do something to increase the risk or to increase the harm. Let's say you got somebody, you see somebody involved in an automobile accident, you pull over to kind of help them, they're laying there on the ground, and maybe they shouldn't be moved, and you start yanking them around, and you further injure their back or whatever has been injured. Yes, you can be held responsible for that. But by just pulling over and helping them and maybe calling an ambulance and not doing anything to increase the risk, you have no responsibility. Maybe these Lyft and Uber drivers are probably told, don't get involved. You're just there to transport people from point A to point B. If you're not getting paid to help them out of the car, stay out of the way.
Honestly.
Because of the liability that could happen.
I did Uber, or I did rideshare work for a little while back in college when I had like 3 jobs. And it was, convenient because I could do it anytime, anywhere. But as personal safety, we did have like some guidelines and like the community forums that said, be careful getting out of your car. You're leaving it running to help somebody get in. They could come in and steal your car. If you get out and you don't know them, they could, potentially somehow take advantage of that situation. So at least from a female driver's point of view, I always was cautious about my safety, not just my passenger safety. But if I was picking people up from the airport, I would offer to get up and open the trunk, help them put a bag in or something like that.
Yeah.
But,
maybe a bag, but
it depends.
Different.
I wonder
that's different than helping somebody who just got out of dialysis.
That's true.
Who's already kind of not really has all their strength.
Right.
Their ability to maneuver.
Yeah.
And you have to know how to help someone like that too.
Right.
I mean, you probably have to have some training on what to do and how to hold them up. I don't know the size of this person is or how big or small they are. So anyway,
or if that was even communicated, because you just pick people up from where they're at. It's not your business what they were there for.
Yeah, but generally, as a Good Samaritan, you don't have to. You have no legal responsibility or liability unless you increase the risk or increase the harm in some way.
What was this law called again?
The Good Samaritan law. I call it when you undertake to help someone. I call it. Legally, it's called the Undertaker Doctrine, but when you undertake to help someone, or the Good Samaritan law, whatever it is.
Okay, I see. That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
But let me tell you, I guess we're going to take a break
We're
now.
about to head into...
We're going to talk about social media and the class action that's going against...
against what?
All these social media platforms.
Oh.
Kids are getting crazy and they want to sue.
Kids are getting crazy and they want to sue.
They're not getting crazier.
Welcome to Legal Live in
bad
America.
Things are happening to them because of social media. We've all heard about it. There's a big. The courts now have opened the lawsuit, not the floodgate, but have opened up the ability to sue for what these social media platforms are doing. Okay?
That sounds fascinating. Oh my gosh, that's gonna open up the floodwaters. Well, you're listening to Legal Live, and we are about to take a quick break. Feel free to give us a call at 855-765-1045. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Can we change this?
Hello. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We've got a couple of callers on the line, Eddie.
Let's get at it.
You want to dive right in?
Let's
go. Francis, you have a question about Medicare claim. Let me know what's going on.
Well, I had an ambulance trip in December of 2022 and one in July of 23, and I can't name the name of the ambulance company, can I?
You don't have to. Is it not?
Well,
is it relevant?
it's Century Ambulance. They're really bad.
Okay.
They won't bill Medicare. They've refused. They keep saying Medicare doesn't cover it. I said, well, you have to get a denial from Medicare. And I call Medicare every time they send me a bill. They have never submitted a claim, not one, on either one of those trips. And they're telling me that I have to pay it. Well, they're bypassing my insurance company. And I worked for Blue Cross Medicare for 25 years. I'm a nurse in claims, and we paid those claims. They're just not, they refuse to bill Medicare, and I told them to bill non-emergency medical necessity. And they still keep sending me bills. I got 4 bills, well, 2 of the same kind, just this past week.
What are the total amount of the bills?
$246.40 each. And if I pay them, what's to keep them from billing Medicare and collecting again?
Well, that's illegal for them to get double payment. But I think, here's what, I don't know too much about that, but they probably don't want to bill Medicare because they get paid so little for that.
Well, I know you're right
They
because
want
I
the
work
money
for
from
Medicare.
you.
But
if they're
that
asking you
Diane lady you mentioned, the nurse
right.
advisory,
Yes, ma'am.
you think she could help me?
Well, she gave me her phone number. I mean, if you want, I want to give it on there. I'll give it to our producer. If you stay on the line, I'll give you her phone number. She says she can help. Her name.
Okay, well, if you'll give me that number, can I hang on, or are you going to call me back?
No, hang on.
Stay on the line, and Daniel will.
I'll give Daniel. We'll give it
number
to him right now. He can come in, or can he?
I'll take it
Is
all.
he the guy that answered the phone?
Yes, he is.
Well, he needs to talk louder. He talks real weak.
I tell him all the
Daniel's.
I tell him all the time that, I mean,
we can't get him to stop
listen,
yelling over here in the
He's
studio.
very shy, I guess.
He's a good man. He's a good man. And
you know how these corporate, they try to,
he tries to be nice to our callers, but let me tell you.
But
I know.
they
He
pay
just
him
needs
enough
to
for the problem.
speak up.
If they paid him more money, he'd speak up, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would too. I'll be screaming and singing. I'll do
That's how
anything.
we
You're on the ball, Eddie. You know what it takes. Money
Yeah,
talks. Mine says goodbye.
That's right, it sure does. But hold on. You does money. You know that. I know. So,
Yeah. So if I stay on the line,
stay on
you
the
give
line.
him the number?
Yeah, she's handing it to him right now, and then he'll give it to you. And she said she could help. She's one of
Oh,
those
good. I'll try that. Thank you.
I'd like to hear back. You can call us back and let us know if she was able to help you. So.
Okay, I
thanks a
will.
lot.
I listen to you every week.
Yeah, but see, the thing
I'm
is,
92, so I'm still got my marbles.
Nice.
you know.
Look at that voice. See, she should be working. You should be working here behind the
I
board.
know, Francis, you have a sweet voice. Daniel has that number now, and so if you hang on the line, don't
Keep it
hang
up,
up.
Francis. 92 going strong. That's what I want to hear. We want to keep saying happy birthday to you.
Oh,
Year after year after year,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. What a beautiful life. The 92. Imagine the things you've seen. Oh my goodness.
Still, hey,
Francis.
she ain't going to let insurance companies get away with it.
No, she's
Even
not.
at
And she has
92,
25
she's
years.
fighting.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
She has 2.5 decades experience in the claims department. You ain't
Yeah.
gonna fool Francis.
No way, man.
No way,
92
man.
is just getting started,
Yeah. Right.
We're going to be hiring her. Fight the insurance companies. She needs to come work for
right.
Farah and Farah,
Well, we do have another
Oh,
caller
yeah,
on
let's
the
go
line.
ahead, yeah.
Let's go for it. We've got Jerry from Jacksonville. You've got an issue with mold in your apartment. Tell us all about it, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
By the way, Eddie, I met you years ago in a little social setting. You're a nice guy. You are who you are on the radio and in person too.
Oh, thanks.
So I really respect you for all that you do for the community.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'll
I
get right
appreciate it.
down to it. I was a tenant in an apartment complex, and over the last 22 months, I've experienced mold issues, which resulted in affecting my health. And I had to move out, actually, because it was that bad. I went to a doctor, and yes, I did have related mold issues. So I informed the landlords that I can't live there anymore because they're not fixing it, although they've attempted to, but it's just not being fixed. Now they've sent me a notice for breaking the lease and that I owe $3,300. Now, here's the deal. I realize you're a personal injury wrongful death attorney, probably don't specialize in real estate law. Maybe you do, but my guess is could you recommend somebody that I could talk to about it in the Duval County area?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Wow. So
Should I call the office or
they
something?
created the mold, And now they're trying to sue you like for the back rent or something because you're not there?
Yes, exactly. Now, here's the deal real quick.
Do you have documentation of all the mold and photographs and all that?
Yes.
Okay.
I kept all the documentation, every date, and told them about it. And just to kind of let you know, they came in, but what I found out later was they just kind of cleaned it up. They didn't really do any mold inspection. They didn't bring anybody in to see what was going on. And so the first 2 times, they did the same thing. The third time, they finally did bring somebody in, but I moved out, and they have since not even told me that it was okay for me to go back in. Yeah. But now that I've moved out and terminated the lease, they're getting me and penalizing me on that. I'm not suggesting that I've not violated the contract in and of itself, but I also feel like they didn't uphold their end of the contract.
Right. I know there's a process. There's a legal process where you can withhold the rent. You deposit it into the registry of the court, and you file a lawsuit, and the judge determines whether or not you owe the rent or not. And there's a statute. It's very easy to follow that maybe they're going to try to get. I don't know if the judge, that'd be like a technicality, you know. I'm never say, well, he didn't follow the statute. He could have withheld the rent and done all these things legally. He just left the premises. But if it was uninhabitable, it's dangerous to your health. I don't know. Again, you're right. It's not my area of law, but I think you've got some recourse. You know, we had a caller here a few weeks ago who sort of filed a lawsuit on his own. We kind of told him how to do it, and he won. He called back and said he got all his money from the insurance company. So this is probably something you can handle on your own. Have they filed a lawsuit yet or just sent you a letter?
They sent me the letter, and I've done a little bit of homework. I realized I could probably take this to small claims court. No, I'm not an attorney. No, I don't know the specifics of the law. And it's possible I did not follow the proper ordinance or statutes. But, again, I'm just a layman.
Right.
And I did what I had to do to protect my health. Now I'm realizing maybe I didn't follow the law. Maybe they have a right to bill me the $3,300 and all of that. But I'm also like, hey, this is small claims court.
They haven't filed a lawsuit yet, so there is no small claims court. And they haven't.
What if I filed a lawsuit?
Well, what are you going to file it for? For their breaching the lease?
Yeah, well, for them, I guess, for them taking. I guess I want to get this done, and I don't really want. What I'm afraid of is that they'll ruin my credit.
Right, exactly.
My credit score right now is over 800, so I pay my bills.
Yeah, okay.
And I make 6 digits, so I'm not. That's just to tell you that I'm a responsible person, and I never failed to pay my rent. But I'm afraid that they'll ding my credit. It'll be on there for 7 years if I don't pay this.
Yeah, but there's a cause of action that you can file against them. If somebody files something against your credit improperly, there is legal responsibility on their part to do that. Have you responded to the letter and laid out to them, here's why I couldn't live there? It was a health issue because you did not properly and quickly take care of the mold issue? I mean, you know, this letter, did the letter come from a lawyer or did it come from the apartment complex?
I have the letter ready to go. There are some things that I've included. It's about a 3 or 4 page response back to them. I've been working on this for several days, but I wasn't sure, you know, if I should seek counsel from maybe a certified real estate attorney.
You can. What you could do is call the Jacksonville Bar Association. I mean, I know a lawyer that you could call, but he may be too expensive for this. You know, you're talking about $3-4 grand. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think you can go through the Jack's Bar Association, and for $50, you can talk to a lawyer for a half hour about your legal problem. So if you can go through their website at the Jack's Bar Association, you can register online. I think you can pay the $50. They'll set up a consultation with a lawyer, a real estate lawyer that knows what he's talking about.
And maybe you can go over that letter you wrote to make sure that the response is correct. If the letter came from the apartment complex, that'd be different than an attorney's office.
Not really. I just wanted to know if they were going to file a lawsuit. I mean, if it came, they could turn that letter over to the lawyer, and he could file a lawsuit. Then he could countersue them. I'm concerned, like he is, about his credit.
Right.
You know, he's got really good credit right now, and if he goes out to borrow money after this lawsuit, they'll say, "Oh, your credit's bad. We're going to charge you higher interest rates." I mean, he's going to affect his financial future. So,
and it's not fair if it was uninhabitable. The apartment complex does have some responsibility in the lease
and there was laws,
to provide a safe home.
You can look it up yourself.
Well, I have, yes.
You have. They got to supply.
Yes,
They got to
I've done-
provide a habitable premises. I mean,
I
Yes,
gotcha.
that's true.
Well,
Yeah.
hang
you
on the
can't-
line, Jerry.
and he's got the medical record to back it up.
Yeah,
He's just got to do it properly. That's all.
I see.
But
Yes, that's what I want to know.
But if they send it to the collections agency, then you have there's a cause of action you can file against them.
I've got that phone number for the Jacks Bar Association. Are you ready,
Oh,
Jerry?
great. Yes.
You
thank
ready?
You.
Oh, no problem. It is 904-399. Oh, excuse me. That's 904-399-4486.
That's 904-399-4486.
Yeah.
You got it, Jerry.
But you
That's
can go
the
online.
Jacks
Just type
Bar.
in Jack's Bar Association. You can probably do
Yeah.
it online too.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
And get
If
yourself a consultation.
If they can't help you, call the office 396-5555 and just get them to ask them. I'll get you an attorney, but I think you have to talk to somebody
Yeah.
for $50 first
Well,
before you pay $500.
And see if you can get a note from your doctor saying, yes, he did in fact have fungal mold-related illnesses. I remember I had construction in my apartment, and I had mold in my ears. I got an ear infection. So it's like,
I do have those medical records. Yes, I
Yeah,
do.
there
does.
you go.
But
That's something.
Just having the mold in the apartment itself, without medical condition,
Yeah.
you
Even
shouldn't
with
be in
that,
that apartment.
you shouldn't. And they have a right
Yeah,
to provide
right.
a livable home.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, Jerry. Call us back. Let us know what happens.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
Yes, I will. Thank you so much.
You're
All right, thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you so much for calling. That was really interesting, and that's something that we all have talked about or experienced. Or
A lot of people are dealing with that all the time.
And it is unfortunate, but you did the right thing for your health. So way to go for you, Jerry. And, the law is the law. You'll figure it out with this Jacks Bar Association, I'm sure. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Tell us what's happening in the news, traffic, or weather with Open Mic in the News 104.5 WOKV app. Sponsored by Madden Advisory Services, saluting all military and first responders.
Fox News. I'm Paul Stevens. French President Emmanuel Macron on the BBC urging Israel to consider a ceasefire in Gaza.
We clearly condemn this terrorist attack and this terrorist group and recognize the right of Israel to protect itself and react. But day one, we say that this reaction and the fight against terrorism, because it is led by a democracy, should be compliant with international rules.
This as Israel implements 4-hour daily humanitarian pauses.
There is absolutely no ceasefire. The IDF is taking the war back to Hamas. The IDF is dismantling, destroying Hamas as we speak right now. We are enabling safe passages, safe humanitarian corridors for civilians to get out of harm's way.
Israeli Foreign Policy Advisor Ophir Falk on Fox's Kavuto Live. America's listening to Fox News.
Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We just had a couple of great callers, Francis and Jerry. But before we get too far into the show, Eddie, I want to learn more about this class action lawsuit you were talking about when it comes to social media.
what's
You said the
happening is-
teens are going crazy and they want to sue.
All the teens are crazy, man.
They are, man. We used to be crazy teens, too.
Yeah, no, of course. Crazier the better when you're. I mean, you get away with it when you're a
Get it out.
teenager. I mean,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with being crazy when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
When you get older and you get crazy.
Yeah.
That's when the
Well, yeah,
problems start.
that's the part. You're too old to be this crazy now.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, a California state judge ruled last month that negligence and fraud claims on behalf of adolescents and parents can proceed against social media platforms, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube. And what they're saying is that these cases, these lawsuits allege that these platforms are all driven by features that meant to maximize profits by manipulating and addicting kids and adolescents to social media. So they're arguing that they have got this down to where they know how to basically these teenagers become addicted. We know, and I tell you, I know we all probably know people who are addicted to social media.
Yeah.
And they're saying they knew, they allege, or the plaintiffs allege, that these social media platforms have algorithms and operational features that intensify the use of social media, and that they were aware of these independent medical studies that the intended frequency and intensity risk adverse health effects on minor users. So there's scientific evidence, which they're in control of, which they know about, that they have used this scientific,
algorithms,
whatever it is, whatever they use to control these adolescents and have them become addicted to social media. And as a result of that addiction, they are suffering depression, anxiety, insomnia, eating disorders, self-harm, and suicide.
What?
So people are now suing social platforms based on their adolescent child's psychological disorders.
Wow.
And this judge has allowed these lawsuits to proceed. I kind of believe it. Yeah, in California. Yeah, this is the start. Yeah. This is the start. I mean, it starts in California. It's all over the country. This is not the only place where this has taken place. There are a lot of lawyers that I know that are suing on behalf of school districts because the school districts are the ones that have to deal with all these problems.
Mm-hmm.
These kids go to school and they're having all these psychological problems, and it's costing them money. They got to bring people to school. They got to have counselors. So there are a lot of law firms that I know that are suing on behalf of school districts to get that money back that they're spending because of all this social media addiction.
That's interesting to me. I know that there are plenty of scientific studies that say, for example, if you post something online and then somebody likes it, that when you see that there's confirmation or affirmation, some type of positive response, that you get a dopamine rush in your brain, and dopamine is how we become addicted to things. It's the feel-good chemical.
Right.
And however, I'm curious about this because I wonder if it's just a symptom of a much larger problem that people are of all ages. Let's be real; it's not just teenagers that are addicted to their phone. I'm a grown adult and I'm on my phone all the time for multiple reasons.
Yes.
And you get so used to it. It becomes a part of your daily routine, your lifestyle.
Everybody's addicted to it.
It's a part of my job.
Yeah, it is. Everybody's
addicted to something to some degree.
No, I think everybody's, who doesn't?
Who doesn't perk up when their phone dings?
I bet.
Or, who doesn't have an emotional response if they don't want to get a call on
bet Frances has got her, probably using her phone 24 hours now. Frances, 92 years old.
Frances might be doing that. She's on the phone calling these insurance
Frances,
people.
We'll represent you. We'll sue TikTok, no problem.
We've got your back. But
she's addicted to social media. We got to get her.
The social media platforms.
No, but it's not the addiction. It's the result. It's all the psychological problems that occur as a result of that.
I wonder.
It's the eating disorders and the anxiety and the suicides and all that. There's. I don't know. How they're going to prove that? They're going to prove it scientifically. They're going to get into the research because, of course, these social media platforms want you to use them. That's how they make their money.
And the algorithms are designed to feed you what you want to see.
Feed you information. They want to get you involved in their social media platform. And that's what those algorithms do. That's how they make their money. It's all from advertising. And the more people that watch TikTok, the more money they get for advertising revenue they get. So it's all driven by money. So so there is something there that brings you into that platform, and they keep you there. They know how to do it, And if as a result of that, you're suffering, is it like drinking? Is it like selling alcohol to a minor? That's the comparison they're starting to make.
Oh, I see.
That's where they're going. They're saying this is like alcohol. You can't sell alcohol to a minor because it's toxic. It gets them addicted. They become alcoholics. Problems happen. The argument now is that social media is like an alcohol addiction. That's what you're going to be hearing.
Interesting.
Yes.
So they're going to have social media like anonymous now. Which honestly, it's hard enough when I've seen plenty of people online say, I'm going to take a month off of whatever platform they're on. And, it is hard. I do wonder, though, if it's just a larger symptom that we're addicted to our phones. We're human beings. We are social creatures. We need to connect. And it's an artificial connection when we do it digitally in any platform. I think maybe the isolation caused from not having real in-person connections that feed the human spirit and nurture the human mind, perhaps that is also a compounding factor in this, is that you're more on your digital devices than in real life.
But if they got you hooked on the social platform, you're less apt to deal with humans because you're just so focused on what's going on the social
even though it feels like you're connecting, but you're really not in the way that the body needs.
Right.
And that might lead also to depression and isolation and negative mental health effects.
But they want you to spend all the time on the phone.
Yeah,
That's
they
where
do.
they want you.
That's interesting. Fascinating topic. Way to go,
We'll see
Eddie,
how that
bringing that in.
proceeds. Yeah.
I'm going to look into that more. That's so cool. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV. We'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm your host, Shafalika Bhatnagar, and I'm here with Eddie Farah. We've had some really interesting conversations today, don't you think, Eddie?
Yeah, I want to get back into something that Francis brought up about Medicare. And, I'm reading this article where the Department of Justice, the United States Department of Justice, announced in a press release that it has settled a False Claim Act lawsuit against Cigna Insurance Company. The $172 million lawsuit resolves the claims that Cigna, the insurance company, defrauded Medicare by submitting diagnosis codes for its Medicare Advantage plan that were inaccurate and untruthful. It was alleged that Cigna, a Medicare Advantage organization, submitted untruthful and inaccurate patient diagnosis information to the CMS in order to inflate payments it received from Medicare. The Department of Justice alleged that Cigna failed to withdraw inaccurate and untruthful diagnosis data and repay CMS, and falsely certified in writing to CMS that the data was accurate and truthful. So here's an insurance company that purposely mislabels or the way they submit or doesn't submit a truthful diagnosis. They're trying to get more money because the Medicare pays on diagnosis codes. Certain diagnosis codes bring more money than others. So they were inflating the diagnosis codes to get more money. So they just paid a $172 million fine. The moral to this story, the message I get from this type of stuff is corporations can do something that an individual can't. If you did that as an individual, Shafalika, you'd be under the jail.
I'd be under the jail. I'd have to arrest myself.
I mean, this was an intentional act by the insurance company.
Yeah.
They were asked to look at it again, make sure you weren't doing something wrong. They said no. They certified everything they were doing is correct. We'd had the right diagnosis codes. We want our money. They were overpaid, and they just paid a $172 million fine.
I can't believe that's a fine. That's like a slap on the wrist.
That's a slap on the wrist.
And if Cigna's doing it, everybody's doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And who's not even getting caught?
Wow.
But the point I'm trying to make is that an individual, we know life is not fair, but a person who steals a pack of cigarettes goes to jail for 5 years or whatever, and you've seen those situations. And here are corporations are stealing taxpayer money, openly doing it. Not even admitted to a wrongdoing, certifying that what they're doing is correct. They end up paying a $172 million fine and they walk away.
I mean, if the doctors submitted the wrong codes just to get some kind of
they go to jail, yeah.
They'll go to jail too.
Oh, yeah. Doctors are busted all the time for that.
Yeah.
If you don't submit the right, that's inpatient. They call it inaccurate patient diagnosis.
Is there a way that the patients can double check what their insurance has billed, the Medicare?
Well, the patient is not paying. I guess they don't care. I mean, if not many patients. I mean, that's how whistleblowers go know what's going on. I mean, like somebody like Francis, who's a nurse who has a medical background, they can probably figure out what's going on the diagnosis codes.
Right.
Like, that's the wrong code. But
she told them exactly what code to give as well.
Exactly.
So she knows.
Yeah, she knows. But the typical person doesn't know the codes.
That's
you go
true.
to the doctor, as long as you're not paying the bill, you could care less.
Yeah.
So, but here, this is a lot of money, 170 they got. I mean, you said, how many of them get away with it? They caught one. I mean, this is $172 million. Maybe there's 10 other situations they don't catch. That's $1 billion gone up in smoke. Just like Cheech and Chong said, up in smoke.
Oh, my goodness. You did not.
Yeah. But
there's an interesting medical marijuana legalization bill that's floating around, too. Maybe we'll discuss that.
Right now, it's so easy in Florida to get a medical marijuana card. They might as well just make it recreational.
They might as well.
Talk to friends who have the card. You go to a doctor, you tell them, I don't feel good, they give you a medical marijuana card.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's very easy to get one. I can't sleep. Okay, here, you need a card.
Interesting.
And so it's very easy to get a card. Now, it costs money to maintain the card. You have to go back to doctor visits. There's follow-ups. So there's a financial component that...
so it can be financial exclusion.
Yeah. So right now, I mean, I think... Yeah, I mean, it's if you got the money to see the doctor and to pay the follow-ups, it's easy to obtain a medical marijuana card.
Right.
So I don't know what the difference between that is and making it recreational. So
yeah.
It's almost recreational now.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, I will say my experience when I lived in Colorado was how the recreational versus medicinal cannabis impacted the economy. I'll say that when they went recreational that first year, I believe, they made $66 million extra than their state budget allowed them to keep in their constitution. So they had to ask the citizens of Colorado, do you want us to give this money back to you each individually?
Yeah, the tax revenue.
Or we can put it to making new schools and building roads. And I voted for, please, give me that check. That would be cool. I'd frame it. Like the first time the government wrote me a check.
I'll hold on to that.
Yeah,
you take a picture of it.
From an economic standpoint, it is good for a state if they can find a way to capitalize on certain recreational things.
Yeah, plus it brings
because you can tax that.
It brings the cost of the marijuana down too because it's more competitive.
And it could regulate it to make it safer.
Yeah.
Lord knows there's so much dangerous things out there with drugs these days. But anyway, just wanted to bring that up. Random little topic.
Yeah. You know, a lot of times we've seen cases. And I'll tell you, it's almost commercial vehicles are not supposed to be parking on the side of it's against federal law.
Not on the shoulder.
Negligent parking of commercial vehicles on our highways creates hazards. It's very hazardous. You can go down at night, especially. You're going down 95, and you got a commercial vehicle parked on the shoulder. Mm-hmm. It's almost like you think it's a lane of travel.
Yeah,
you got to almost grab yourself, and maybe you can't tell if it's moving or not. It's at night, and you think that's a lane. That's why they don't have them parked there. They're not supposed to park on the ramps, on the exit ramps especially. But Georgia has a law that says commercial vehicles are prohibited from parking on the highways and the shoulders of the highways. And that's a good law.
That is
because so m目times we have seen so many accidents where people think that is a lane of travel and that truck is moving and they weave into that shoulder and they rear into a semi-truck that's parked on the shoulder.
My goodness.
Where it shouldn't be there. And that happens so many times.
Oh, wow. I bet you
so
guys
that's a
do
really,
see a lot
really
of that.
good law to have, and that needs to be enforced.
So are they parked there for sleeping, or are they parked there for mechanical issues? Because I've seen plenty of that.
If they're parked for mechanical issues, there's things they've got to put out. They got to put out these warning cones
or
and
something.
so forth.
Got it.
But if they're parked out there to go to sleep, that's against the law. That is a big time hazard.
Wow.
And that's a great law.
They have a tough job too. The amount of driving they have to do.
Yeah.
I would want them to have sleep, but you got to have a designated place, I guess, to park.
Yep, that's correct.
That's interesting. Well, I just want to say thank you to Francis and Jerry for giving us a call today. Yep. We had some really interesting questions and topics to talk about, Eddie. Thank you so much.
We'll be back next week.
We will. Yep, we will be back live in studio. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm your host, Shafalika Botnagar, and I just want to say thank you to Eddie and Francis and Jerry. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
Shout out one time for the original vibe. Who is a big enough Celsius fan who could tell me what the original vibe flavor was? Sparkling Peach, the original, deliciously sweet and 100% refreshing. Always delicious. Northeast Florida is fueled by Celsius Essential Energy Drinks.